Today, we're shining the spotlight on a very important subject because today is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And if you're like a lot of people, you don't even know what elder abuse really means. And whether you're a victim of it or you see it happening to someone else, would you know what to do? A lot of people wouldn't. And that's what we're talking about today. So please stay tuned. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. So as I said, today is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, June 15th. It's an important day, and it's an opportunity for us to shine a spotlight on a very important topic. My guest today is attorney Blake Lawrence. Hey, Blake, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. You know what, Blake? Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Sure, I'd love to. My name is Blake Lawrence. I'm an attorney at Davison, Eastman, right in Freehold, New Jersey. I specialize in wills, trusts, estate planning, estate administration, and estate litigation. And I'm excited to be here today.
And you know what, for those of you listening out there, we'll put Blake's contact information in the comments in case you want to reach out to him for any reason. All right, so Blake, as we're talking about, it's World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Ooh, that's a mouthful, June 15th. And I feel like the first thing I'd like you to do is just explain to people, what is elder abuse?
Sure. I mean, unfortunately, I wish we didn't have to talk about elder abuse, that it wasn't there. But unfortunately, it is, and we do have to be aware, of what it is and signs that we can look out for. So elder abuse is typically an action or inaction that harms or endangers or causes distress to a person over the age of 60 or 65 and is done intentionally. And it's usually by someone that's known to the individual person as well. And they're in a position of trust with them.
Yeah, I think that's an important word right there, that the perpetrator, if that's the right word, is usually someone that the older person trusts, not always a stranger.
Yeah, very often it's someone they know and is close to them. I mean, that's why they're positioned to trust, because that individual elderly person relies or is dependent on somebody else for some type of assistance. So a lot of times it is somebody that they know, not just family, could be friends, could be clergy, professionals, somebody that knows the individual well and has gained their trust.
And you also said, it's something that you might do or something you might not do. So it really goes both ways. But can you explain, so what are some examples? What are some signs of it so that we all understand what we're talking about?
Sure. So what you hear about a lot in the news is financial exploitation. So This is where it's like it's a financial abuse. It's not physical, it's not mental, but it's financial abuse. And this mistreatment can be scams, right? Somebody is calling up, or somebody's trying to, fraud, coercion, or theft. Those are, some things that, there may be what's called financial exploitation. How would you, as the person that cares for the individual, recognize it? Well, it could be unusual spending habits, by the individual, bank transactions that don't make sense. Why is money moving around? Or maybe there's missing bank statements. They're not there. That, should raise a red flag. Or there's a large amount of unopened mail, unpaid bills, or warning letters, things that, the elderly person would have normally done, in their normal life. And now things are changing, but not for the better. So these are, things to look out for. Also, maybe a new friend, who offers to provide services for them, or missing personal possessions or property. So you want to make sure you're on the lookout for those, or maybe suspicious legal documents, right? We're attorneys and we don't always have the background of individuals or the family. So if somebody comes and they present to us that they're competent, they know what they're doing, they know what they want, and we'll do the documents, but we don't always get to see all the background. So we also want, we want to be vigilant and making sure that we're trying to protect, people that are, susceptible to, abuse.
So when somebody gets a phone call and the person on the line, again, targeting elderly people, that I'm from Social Security, I'm from Medicare, giving me your personal information, even that, I feel like it is elder abuse right there.
Oh, absolutely, because they're preying on another individual, and you get a phone call, you think it is Social Security, you think it is the IRS, and they're going to take your house. All right, here's my Social Security number. Oh, I owe you $2,000. Okay, where should I send the money to? They've gotten very sophisticated. The people that commit these frauds, and unfortunately, they prey on the elderly. We have to make sure that our elderly are protected, and just try to keep them away from these scams. They're going to happen. They're on lists. I don't know how they get these lists, but they're somehow on lists. And you start with one, and they're going to keep on doing it until another family member can intervene and stop this from happening. But absolutely, those are absolutely elder abuse.
So I feel like if you're someone who is lucky enough to have your parents and they're elderly, then really you need to really keep your eye out for what's going on. Maybe you have to snoop around. Maybe you have to really pay attention. Maybe your parents won't like that, but I feel like it's an obligation as the adult child to really look at what's going on in your parents' life, financial wise, emotionally wise, to make sure that they're not a victim, because they might not speak out about this.
Oh, absolutely. And it's hard for the child to and almost become like the parent,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
and the parent might be unreceptive to it. And which is fine, because maybe the parent's private, they don't want the child knowing their business. That's okay. But presence, will be a big thing. And it's hard, in this day and age, people are all over the world. So it's sometimes hard to be there. You could be a phone call away, but sometimes presence is hard. But you want to try to do your best as a child, as a cousin, niece, nephew, or a close family friend, to be involved and know what's going on, in that individual's life, to try to help protect them as much as possible, or just be there, just be there for them, whatever they may need, not under any obligation, but because you want to.
Right.
Well, and your presence can hopefully, stop a lot of these scams, because you see them, they're either lonely. Senior loneliness is a big deal. When they're isolated, COVID-19 was a major issue for seniors. They were isolated away from family and friends, and they were potentially more susceptible for a lot of financial abuse.
So Blake, would you say that some people are maybe even more at risk than others, more susceptible?
I would say 100% absolutely, Andrea, because the reason being is because they have nobody else. A lot of times we see a lot of frauds committed when there's no family members, there's no friends, they're really alone, and all they have is themselves. So they want that human contact, that interaction, that new friend that comes in the picture that's now paying attention to them. They have somewhere to go to lunch with, or dinner with, or out to a show with, and they make this new friend, but the new friend is gaining that trust so they can take advantage of the elderly person. So we definitely have to be aware of that.
And I realize too, we'll mention this as because there's of course a prevalence of online dating, and you do hear more and more. I just can't believe it, how many women especially are susceptible to these. I don't know what a romance scam. They cuddle up to you. Well, not literally, but, and the next thing you know, they're asking for money. And I am always surprised when I hear that women give money.
Again, because it goes back to that loneliness.
Yeah.
They want somebody. They may have lost their spouse, and their kids may be away or not close by. They want that interaction, not just on a weekly or monthly basis from like a family member, but on a daily basis. Somebody that's going to take the time to talk to them, whether it's online or over the phone. They don't have to go anywhere, right? They can be in the comfort of their own home or wherever they may be, and have an interaction. It's an online dating relationship. It is, without maybe ever seeing the person physically. But they've talked to them on the phone, so they know it's real, right? We've had instances where, oh yeah, I'm dating so and so. Well, how do you know they're real? Oh, I talk to them on the phone all the time.
I'm dating her, but I never met her.
Right, exactly.
Ever.
But because they crave the the human interaction, because you'll go, it gets lonely doing the same routine over and over, and this person adds a little bit of excitement. They want to hear about, their history, their day, what they're doing, what they want to do. So they take the time to listen, to the individual, and they enjoy it. It makes it more meaningful for them. But little do they know, at some point, once they gain the trust, they're going to start asking for money, and they're very, slick on how they do it. So we want to try to be as, involved in the elderly person's life as much as possible to try to steer it away. And it's hard, especially if they get established into this online relationship. It's hard because now you're the bad guy, right? You as the child or the loved one, you're the bad guy. I'm not listening to you. I don't care if I give this person $2,000 because they make me feel good inside. It's not about the money. It's about, the connection that they're feeling, even though, like you said before, they've never met them, in person ever.
What I feel though, and things that, just from reading about myself, is that this person who's, trying to gain your trust, they're probably on the phone with 10 other women, not just you. So, but that's a whole other topic.
Right. But also, don't forget, they're smart. They'll send you flowers.
They are smart. They are smart.
Right. They'll send you flowers to your home. Oh, this is real. Look, he sent me flowers. Like, he's real. The relationship is real. Literally, no, that flowers may have cost an individual $100, but they're going to get far more money in the long run. So that's why, again, they play the boyfriend, male friend part very well.
So loneliness really makes you vulnerable to this kind of this is a financial kind of an abuse, but an emotional abuse. But I think in general, isolation and loneliness can make a person very vulnerable to any number of examples of elder abuse.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we have to, keep an eye out for. We may not realize it, but when you have somebody new coming into, a parent's life, you just gotta, just raise an eyebrow. Like, all right, is this real, or is this, something that's going to look like a scam later on? Again, the scam can happen right up front. They build the trust over time.
It has to be cultivated.
Exactly.
So let's say that, whether you're a friend, a relative, a child, an adult child, you see, whether it's your own parent, a relative, you see someone who you recognize the signs that something has definitely gone awry and they are a target of abuse. What can you do?
Well, I would say, if you see something, say something, right? That common phrase.
Yes.
Because again, if you're wrong, at least you're trying to protect them. But there are legal protections out there as well to ensure that somebody else is looking into it, and it's not just you as the family member. There's the Prevention of Domestic Violence Act. That's if there's an elder abuse physically or emotional type of abuse. There's Adult Protective Services as well, and there's also additional criminal and civil penalties that can be filed against an individual. So we want to be diligent with that. But there's also, if somebody's institutionalized in like a nursing home, there's a mandatory adult abuse and exploitation reporting law. It's a mouthful on that one. But again, there's recourse as well. And if there's, there's abuse there, physical, from somebody that works into a nursing home, you can also have a claim against that nursing home, for abuse, for personal injury, etc. So there are lawyers out there that handle nursing home abuse cases. So it, unfortunately, like we said before, it happens. And without having a family member that's present, that can advocate for them, they tend to be either neglected, or occasionally they can be abused physically, mentally, and unfortunately sometimes even sexually.
So would it be fair to say that if someone is in a nursing home situation, would you go right to an attorney? Do you recommend even reporting it to the administration of the nursing home or whatever institution the person is living in?
I think it would depend on what the abuse is. I think you would always want to go towards the administration to make them aware of what it is. And I think if it rises to a level that your loved one has physical injuries, then you would want to seek out an attorney to at least evaluate the case. But I would also let the institution know, about what's happening.
All right. And if it's just, a parent, a relative, a friend, who living at home and you suspect they are being abused in some way, would that be the time to reach out to Adult Protective Services first?
Absolutely. You can always get Adult Protective Services involved if you have any type of question. If there's financial abuse and you know who it's coming from, you can get a lawyer to go after the individual that potentially stole money from them as well. So there is recourse within the legal system and within the Adult Protective Services to try to protect your loved one as much as possible. But the key is you got to be aware, right? So in order to be aware, you got to be involved.
Well, this is paying attention. And as you said, if you see something, say something. But you know what, Blake, it just occurs to me, some people might not even understand, or they might not know what is Adult Protective Services and how do you reach out to them?
Sure. I mean, Adult Protective Services, they are there to investigate and be aware of what may be happening to a loved one. They usually will respond within about 72 hours. And they're there to investigate and see if there's anything that's going on that's problematic or they need to get involved in. So, and they will reach out. So it's important to be aware and to contact them when needed.
I feel like the most important advice really goes back to if you have older relatives, older parents, you need to pay attention to what they're doing, what they're saying. And because, just you might be able to intervene, right in the very beginning and cut everything off at the pass if you're just paying attention.
Correct.
But don't just think that they're fine, be involved. I think at the end of the day, you can spare a lot of problems for them and for you. Maybe this is an inheritance, guys, that your parents are unfortunately, being gypped out of.
No, absolutely. I mean, I would always say you do it because, for the love of your, parent, family member, friend, etc., not for the money, but that is a, secondary, part of it, because you don't want somebody taking advantage of a loved one, whether it's financial or not. They're taking advantage of the individual, and you as the loved one or the trusted friend, etc., can be there to protect that person, and that's what you want to do. They can't protect themselves, so you need to step in to protect them. And again, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes they don't want your help, but be persistent. At the end of the day, you're in their family circle or your close friend circle. Be there for them. I think they'll appreciate it in the long run as much as they may try to push you away at times.
I think you're right. I agree. I agree with you. And best advice of all, really, if you see something, say something. That's true. Very true. Well, Blake Lawrence, thank you so much for being my guest today and helping me shine a spotlight on elder abuse, a very important topic. I wish we never had to talk about it.
No, thank you for having me. It's an important topic, and people should definitely be aware, not just, today, but, every day, to keep an eye out for it. And again, if we can leave you with anything, be involved. Unfortunately, our loved ones are only here for a short period of time. Don't have regrets. Make that extra phone call. Tomorrow's not given. So make sure that, you reach out to that loved one if you haven't spoken to them in a period of time.
All right. Remember out there, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr, and we'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone. Bye, Blake.
Thanks, Andrea.